Hello and welcome to the latest episode of I'm Not a Player, I'm a Gamer podcast. Shout out to everyone who's been listening so far. I said since all my teacher training that I've had a few episodes to get back into the swing of things. We've had some people involved in casting, we've had some people who have been more directly involved with the business side of stuff. So thank you, first of all, everyone that's been listening and watching, because obviously you have your YouTube and Spotify. It's been so much fun to get back into it. As I say each week, I always try and now like get a variety of, yes, it's a gaming podcast, but trying to introduce more of the world of gaming. And the guest that I have today, I actually had I'm going to go ahead and say honor of meeting when we were out in Riyadh earlier on in the year. And we'd had a bit of sort of conversation backwards and forwards as you were coming over to sort of arrange that we had the awards out there in Riyadh. So, for those who are listening, you obviously cannot see currently, but I've introduced. I'm joined by Myrtle Sarrosa. How are you, first of all? And thank you for joining because there is a time difference between us, and it's always a factor of getting people on. It's tricky with the UK to different time zones. How are you?
Hi, Miles, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much again for tuning into this podcast, and thank you for inviting me. I've been great. I've had a lot of time to play these last few days, so I've been pretty great.
Oh, by the way, in terms of someone being busy, I know your schedule has been just everywhere recently. Like you've been involved in lots of different projects, which I'm sure we'll have a chance to sort of talk about. For people who are tuning in who may not know what it is that you do, or bring not just to gaming but in general, like how would you sort of, I don't know, describe yourself almost?
Oh wow. So hi. I am a combination of a lot of things. I am a cosplayer. I'm also a streamer. But I also live a life outside of the gaming scene as an actress. So here in the Philippines, I actually act in a lot of TV series, but most of the time I always played the villain or the antagonist in a lot of the TV shows. And we just wrapped up one of the TV shows that we had, which was My Longer Girl, which was like airing in Philippine television for the last few months. And it's been great. So right after the show ended, I just had to like hop into the computer and just keep playing.
The viewership alone, like I was looking at the numbers. I remember you mentioned it, but the numbers of that TV show was just crazy. Not the sort of numbers that I guess we're even used to in the UK. Like, what was the experience like? Like, how, was it just obviously like you said, you get to play the antagonist, which by the way must be lots of fun. But like, how was the recon for you? And, like, did you expect the viewership to be like what it was?
Oh gosh. So here in the Philippines, like it got a combined total of 1 billion views.
Yeah,
So, which
which
is
is mental.
quite a lot. Yeah, quite a lot. And in our time slot, in the Philippines, it had like the highest rating, especially towards the last few weeks of the show. Like a lot of people really tuned in, and a lot of people really hated me because of my character.
That's your
So it
job.
was, yes, that's what I was telling people because a lot of people were quite worried that. Hey Myrtle, are you fine? We see a lot of comments about your character and stuff, and I'm like, I'm fine. I'm fine. I know that I'm a different person than my character, but I'm very just happy that I get to trigger emotions from
Mm.
people who are watching the show,
Which I
which
love, by
is
the way.
quite different. Which is quite different from the things that I do in gaming and in cosplay.
Yeah, because
So it's fun that I get to do both.
you're almost being like you said with your cosplay and your gaming, you are there to provide a people are entertained by it and they look and it's a completely different form of entertainment that you're providing when you're then playing antagonist. Is that your role is for people to almost like hate you and not you are the bad guy. You're the bad person. So it must be a complete like surreal experience. It's like I still need to entertain them, but in a way where actually they'll find me to be a bad person this time rather than a good person, which must be surreal. You mentioned your cosplaying. A world that I've always been aware of, there is constant mixes between gaming and cosplaying. Like what first inspired you to actually start cosplaying? How did that all begin for you? And did it start with cosplaying or did like your streaming, gaming, or actress roles begin before that?
So it actually started when I was growing up. I was a huge fan of watching a lot of anime. So back then, when I was like, I think I was like 5, 6 years old, I would rush home from school and get home by 3 p.m. and I would tune into TV and Sailor Moon, Mermaid
Oh,
Melody, Dragon
yeah.
Ball, One Piece, Hunter x Hunter. everything was just playing on TV, and I became a huge fan. Like it really impacted me, and because of anime, it also influenced me on how I am, my fashion as a person. I was watching the anime Death Note when
Mm.
I was like 11, 12 years old.
And that
There
you're gonna
was
get woken up to anime by Death Note. Like the anime is
yeah,
brutal, but
like
it's all so good.
yeah. So there's this character there, Amane Misa. I loved her so much. I love her so much that I decided to dress up like her. So back then I had black hair, but I would put like blonde highlights and her skirt and like the black top. I would wear the same thing, and people really thought I was doing like an emo punk aesthetic thing. But I was like, no, I'm just inspired by the character. And then one day as I was just like reading manga online. So manga is like the anime comic books.
Yeah.
As I was reading through them on like online, I saw like an ad about a girl in costume, and I was like, wow, she looks so pretty. She really looks like the character. And from there, I saw like in anime forums that there's this word called cosplay. And from there, I was like, oh my gosh, it's actually a thing. And I became hooked. And since that discovery, I started making my first costume in 2009. And that became my entire cosplay journey. I started for the love of anime, but through the years, like it started becoming something bigger for me. And funny story, actually, I really think I was meant to cosplay because my name is actually pretty unique, right,
Yeah,
Miles?
yes, very yes. Do you want to go into? I mean, for me, like,
Yeah.
go
So,
ahead.
yeah, so like I was pretty shocked when I found out that the first ever recorded cosplayer in history in 1930s was a girl named Myrtle Douglas.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, what? So the first cosplayer ever was named Myrtle? And I was like, okay, I think this is just fate, destiny
Yeah.
that I was gonna be like a cosplayer as well.
And by the way, me making notes for this podcast, I don't even need to because you're knocking out all the things that I was going to say. It's like, did you know? And obviously, you already knew it.
Wait,
Um,
wait,
and by
wait,
the,
were you gonna tell that to
I
me?
was literally going to say, did you know what the first? Honestly,
Oh gosh.
it's
I had no idea you found out about that too.
Listen, I've got to do some research. I brought you on to really educate everyone listening, but also like it's a completely new sort of thing to me. And you mentioned Death Note. What are your thoughts on have you seen the non-animated, sort of non-anime version of Death Note, and how do you think it compares to the original, being such a fan?
Oh gosh, I do love both.
Hmm.
I really love the original because I watched both the anime and of course joined in all the forums to just like read everything back then. And a few years ago I also saw like the live action version.
Yeah.
I think I watched it on Netflix.
Hmm.
And of course I really love the actors as well. But I love both, but you know,
You
like
prefer
the
the original?
anime had like a huge space in my heart.
Yeah. No, I'm the exact same. Like I loved the non-animated version, but the anime just hits in a different way for me. And it's the exact same. That was like
Yeah.
how I almost started anime journey. It was the exact same for me. Like I started with Death Note, and I thought I was hooked from that moment. And then any that come out since then, you've mentioned like Dragon Ball, everything else. It's like it all started with Death Note for me. With regards to cosplaying, like, so have you had a favorite, which I know is almost an impossible task because you mentioned like your original one that you've done based around like Death Note, but has there been like one that you've looked back and you've gone like that's been a particular favorite of yours?
Well, that is a really tough question, I
Yes.
gotta say, because I started cosplaying in 2009, and right now I think I'm not even sure how many costumes I've done already. I would say like a rough number, like at least 500. Because just last year I did like 94 cosplays, not counting the ones that I repeated on
Hmm.
like on a shoot and then on an event, not counting those. So it's been a lot. And honestly, like a lot of them, a lot of the characters, I really have like a love for each one of them. Like each one of them has like a memory etched
Yeah.
into my brain. But I would say that my most memorable would be my recent Belmont cosplay for
Mhm.
Mobile Legends.
And what's the process that goes into it? Like, for me, it's very easy to. And by the way, like at the end, we'll sort of go into like your socials and stuff, and people can go and find it for themselves. Like every time you do a post, I think to myself, how much time and effort has gone into it. Like I'm not artistic. My partner is so much more artistic. She crochets, she knits, she does everything, and I'm now like incredible. I have a go, and I'd be useless. Like what is the general process? Like, how do you decide what you're going to cosplay? And then how does that then turn into what becomes like the content that you offer? Like, there must be a huge process.
Well, for like my entire process, so it would really honestly start off with just like me liking an anime or loving a game. So I do play a lot of games and I do watch a lot of animes. So whenever I watch an anime, if I see a character who I become an instant fan of,
Hmm.
I just like put myself in their shoes and sometimes I would just think like how would they look like if they were an actual person? Like,
Hmm.
how would their costume look like? And in games, like whenever I play like a certain class or a certain job class, or whenever there's like a character inside the game that just instantly resonates with me, may it be like a boss that was really hard to defeat, or at the job class that I'm playing, instantly I'm like, how would it feel if I had their sword in real life, or how would their armor feel like? And it has become second nature for me to see characters and want to just bring them to life. And my process of really choosing the characters is basically if I instantly become a fan of them, I would love to bring them to life. And sometimes I also like involve my community as well. Like I would post online to my viewers, like, hey guys, who do you guys want me to cosplay next? And a lot of them would drop some names of characters or some games. And then from there, I'd like, why are they suggesting this? Especially if like multiple people suggest it,
Mm.
I would like, okay, I'll watch the anime. And then once I watch it, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I get why they want me to cosplay this character. Or whenever they tell like a certain game, I'll be like, okay, I'll play this game. And then when I see all the details in the game character, I'm like, oh my gosh, now I understand. So it's really like that. It's more of like an emotion.
Yeah.
And if I feel that I want to bring this character to life, regardless of if there's a lot of fans or not, if I'm the only fan of that character, I would love to just, cosplay them.
Also, and like actually putting and I hate using the word costume rather than the cosplay together, but like obviously it depends on how much detail you're going into. And like if they've got, like you said, if they've got weapons or stuff like that, you're having to actually create them. Like how long does it even take to like produce? Because so I'm assuming from a young age, did you have to learn how to like, I'm guessing sew
Yes.
and everything else? Like how is the like the process with that in terms of just making them?
So, so I started when I was like 13, 14. So I started off, of course, just learning how to sew the costume together. It started with skirts where I would pleat the skirts to make like a schoolgirl
Hmm.
outfit and to make a black skirt with ruffles like Amane Misa
Yeah.
would have. And it started off with that. And then eventually when I started competing in cosplay tournaments, like I noticed that most of the time what was winning was like the armored costumes, which was back then was a lot harder to create because you needed to have like the foam,
Yep.
rubber sheets we would call it. And I would learn how to piece them together, glue them together, prime them and then paint them. So back then it would take us like a month to make one costume. But these days, I am working with a team, and with technology right now, it has become much easier. Like we have 3D printers that
Perfect.
basically,
That was
if
my
you
next
have
question.
yeah. So nowadays, like people have like you can just basically get like basically the blueprint online, then just have it printed with your 3D printer. So from there, it has really evolved these last few years. So nowadays, it would take us like a week to make one costume, but we're a group of multiple people
Mhm.
who I work together with. So normally in one week, I would cosplay around 4 to 5 characters.
Which, and you were saying like back then it was more like it would take like a month to sort of. It's incredible how it's good
Yeah.
because, like you said, if you're doing 90. different sort of forms of cosplay over a year, like you're averaging like one every like 4 days. That's like it's mental. Like I couldn't even comprehend the idea of being able to. That's like every time I see your content, it's like, how have you managed to do turn it over in such a quick amount of time? And that's the thing that always like blows my mind with it is that you can get so many different forms, and they're not just like slightly similar, they're always so different. And you mentioned about like the fan suggestions. So, like in the world of cosplay, is it very positive or are there still negatives around it? Like, I imagine fan interaction is a big part of it. Like, is there any form of like criticism that you ever come across when you do it, or is it quite a healthy like community?
Well, honestly, I get a lot of criticism as well. So I do get more love,
Yeah,
but of course, just like anyone, there's always two sides of a coin, and there will always be like both positive and negative opinion about you. And it's not just in cosplay; it's also like in what I do.
yeah,
With my background in television, like what I said, since I play the antagonist a lot, most of the people see me as a villain. They don't see the difference between
yeah.
me and my character sometimes, and they just connect that and they instantly hate me, regardless of what I do. So
Right.
I do get a lot of criticism
Hmm.
for both that and in cosplay. Like what happens most of the time is like I do get a lot of criticism about your appearance. Like sometimes people would say a lot about how you look. Like a lot of people would say, "Hey, she's flat. You don't look like the character. You're too flat. You're ugly. You don't look beautiful." And of course, honestly, sometimes it would sting,
Hmm.
but these challenges are things that I take. I just honestly I just laugh about it
Yeah.
nowadays.
I was gonna say your experience must just be like you know how well you've done, but like when it
Yeah.
comes to cosplay events, how supportive of the other people within the event is it actually like? Because obviously you're competing, but how competitive is it, or does everyone actually just support each other?
Oh, shoot. For competitions, these
Yeah,
most of the time these days, I basically judge the a lot of the tournaments right now,
yeah,
and I am very happy that there's a lot of opportunities for cosplayers. Because way back when I started cosplaying back then, basically what would happen is I would save up months to attend a cosplay event. I would fly from my hometown Iloilo to fly to Manila. And when I get to the competition, after creating the cosplay for months, going up on stage, preparing the performance and everything, back then the prize was like a 500 peso gift check. How much is $500? 500 pesos. I mean, 500 pesos would be, I think, $10 as gift check. There's a prize
okay.
where you would basically like
I've just looked. Yeah, it's about six for UK viewers. It's about £6.50. So dollars, you're
oh
all right.
my
It's like about
gosh,
$5,
yeah.
$6.
Yeah, so back then, back in like 2010, basically that was like the prize when you cosplay in events. And my flight going to Manila costed a lot. My costume materials costed a lot. Of course, like where I had to stay when I fly in costed a lot. And mind you, I was like 14 years old back then, saving up like a year's allowance to attend an
Wow.
event. And back then it was I really saved up a lot. But these days, there's so many opportunities for artists
Mm.
where you can actually earn from cosplaying, and I'm very happy. Um, in terms of competitions,
Yeah.
since I don't get into that space as much, I do admire the creativity that people in competitions put in to make their costumes, to light it up, to think of effects. They sometimes would even put smoke machines. They would think about how the lighting would look like, how the costume would look like with light, without light, how they would move around in costume. So I really admire that about us cosplayers. It's like basically you're doing a theater performance, but
Hmm.
you're recreating the character and bringing it to life to entertain the people. And it's great.
Which I was gonna say I absolutely love. And before I start going into sort of gaming, for people that might be listening who are interested in the idea of cosplaying, like as someone like you said who judges more now at these sort of events, like what sort of advice do you give to someone who's wanting to get into it? Like you mentioned that it came from a passion of loving anime and you got that emotional connection, you just went, that's what I want to do. Like, what advice would you give to anyone who's like looking to move into that sort of area?
Well, if I were to give an advice to people who want to get into cosplay, honestly, it's just really to have fun.
Yes.
To really have fun. It stems from being a fan and having that passion to bring that character to life. So I think these days, my biggest advice is to just have fun
Yeah.
and not think of what other people would say,
Hmm.
not think about the judgment, because, and also not to think of it as a job as well, because if you're going to get into cosplaying to look for work, I also want to say that I think it's best if you get into it as a passionate person
Yep.
rather than it as a job. But I am very happy that a lot of people get blessed nowadays because of cosplaying. So, how what advice would I would give them? It's really just having fun with it.
I think having fun's brilliant because if you're having fun with it, whether or not you have your highs or lows, it's you enjoyed it, and that's the best way to start. I think with any sort of, it's the advice I often give for any, especially with students like teachers, just find something that you enjoy, and if you enjoy it, like every day at work, or if you do it as work or just as fun, every day is just a little bit better doing it.
I agree. I agree. Like you would never feel tired doing something that you're very much passionate about.
Yeah, for sure. And especially like you're saying, like the I can't even imagine what it's like traveling when you're 14 and having to like do all that sort of stuff. Like you've got to have a love for it. Otherwise, it's such a grand start. And you mentioned how you loved watching anime from a young age. When did gaming come into your life? So was there a natural crossover from the anime to, because obviously there are plenty of crossovers between anime and gaming. Like where did it start for you?
I was a so basically it started when I was also around 5 years old.
Hmm.
So what happened back then was like my relatives from the US was asking us what we wanted as a gift. And as kids, we were like, oh, what do we want? We want toys. But my dad was like, ask for a PlayStation. Ask for a PlayStation. It's like, okay, I want a PlayStation. From there, we got a PlayStation, and me and my brother we started playing games on it. And my dad as well because he was the one who initially wanted it.
It was his idea. Yeah.
It was his idea, and then from there we started playing a lot of games from like Monster Rancher. Do you know that game? I don't know if
Did
it's
it
popular.
rings a bell, but I've never played it. I won't lie, I've never played it, but I've definitely heard of it.
So there's like Monster Rancher, Harvest Moon. I also played a lot of Sonic back
Yep.
then, and I just got hooked. Like I really loved being able to play the character and adventure into worlds that I would have never thought of before. And I really enjoyed like just going on to adventures, like to the point that I was so addicted to gaming that I would finish all my homeworks early so I could play on the PlayStation. And my dad, he had to hide my memory card just so that it gotten so bad, especially in Harvest Moon. I had like an entire world there already where I like because it's like an RPG game where you get to
Yeah.
choose a character, start your own farm and everything. It got so bad that he had to hide my memory card just so that I would stop playing. And because of the PlayStation, I got into other consoles, like playing on the Game Boy,
Hmm.
playing on PC, and then eventually just, playing multiple games. And it was just really fun.
But how does that evolve into winning? First of all, I'm saying congratulations, even though it's already happened, but Streamer of the Year, which is huge. Like,
Thank
how
you.
does how does a how does a love or a passion for something develop into that? Like, what made you think, oh, streaming is what I want to have a go at doing?
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you again.
Yep.
I sometimes it still feels surreal. Like recently they gave me another I was recognized for like another
Yep.
streaming award and I was like, "Oh my gosh. This is really unexpected."
Mm.
So it started back in 2018 when I was doing like a lot of because I started with reality TV here in the Philippines, and a lot of people already knew that I loved games, I loved cosplay. They knew me for the for like really the community of being an otaku fan. And
Mm.
then a lot of people were like saying that since you're already playing the game, why don't you stream it as well? And back then, streaming was just starting here in the Philippines. And I was very lucky to get the chance to work with multiple streaming platforms back then, even if the viewership wasn't a lot. And I was very blessed. Although there was a point in time where I actually quit,
Mm.
Miles. I actually quit streaming. I quit streaming back in 2019,
Hmm.
2020, just before pandemic hit,
Yeah.
because I I felt like I hit a roadblock in
Yeah.
my streaming life that I was like, okay, it's very hard to continue streaming. Maybe I need to do something else. So I decided get to go full time into TV.
Yeah.
And I moved networks. I signed with a new network and we were going to shoot a TV show already. And I had like a lot of work planned. And then poof, COVID-19 happened.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't have any more TV work. I didn't have anything. I ended my streaming contract. Like I basically bid a goodbye to my streaming contract. I was like telling Facebook Gaming, like, thank you. I'm gonna focus on TV. And then all of that happened. I was like, oh gosh, so what am I gonna do now? So what I just did, I was just like playing games for fun. So I
Hmm.
just went back into gaming, just playing for fun. And then sometimes like my guild mates, they would be like, you're already in the guild. You're the guild leader. You're like a top player. Because I was like the number one guild leader in a MMORPG game called
Yeah.
Ragnarok, which
Hmm.
is huge here back then in the Philippines. And they're like, you're already like the guild leader. Maybe just like stream it. So I was like, okay, you know what? Since there's really nothing to lose. I don't really care about viewership anymore. I don't need to care about stream hours anymore. I don't need to care about whatever. I don't need to care about like whatever stars people donated. I just stream for fun.
Yep.
And for some weird reason, back in like 2021, when I started doing that, or was it 22? Yeah. When I started doing that, all of a sudden, like it just clicked. Like a lot of people, I guess, genuinely saw how authentically I enjoyed the game, how much I was having fun with my friends. And all of a sudden, my viewership just started to slowly, it didn't happen instantly. It was
Mm.
like gradually growing an audience. And I realized that it wasn't really just like about it wasn't really about like how much hours and stuff. It was just really about enjoying the game and the pure joy of having fun. And it really made me rediscover gaming as something that you should be passionate about, something that you love. And I think from there, people started just enjoying watching me play multiple games, variety of games. Like I play a lot of different games every single week since then up until now. And I think that's what resonated with people. Like just enjoying. Up until now, I don't have like any stream partnership. So I just stream basically for fun.
Yeah.
And I think people can sense the natural, pure joy out of it.
Well, that's like similar to what you're saying with your cosplaying, though, that you are doing it for that fun, that passion, and that is so much more relatable than anyone who's doing it for. Yes, there were people that stream for work, but actually enjoying it and someone just being able to join a stream and see how much someone's doing it and having that variety of games as well is huge. Like, how was the feeling when you? I've seen all the clips and videos of when you actually win the award, and you can see the emotion attached to it. Like, how was the experience like? We'll discuss like what it was like out in Riyadh earlier on in the year, but how did it compare to when you actually won your award? What was the experience like for you, and how did you feel? Like, were you expecting it?
No, I'll be
No.
honest, like really, I I try my best to just like do this not just for me but for like to bring happiness to other people. So when it did happen, I was like, "Oh my gosh, am I dreaming?"
Mm.
like, like is this real? I'm really grateful and I'm really thankful and I'm really blessed that like the people who were there from the very beginning up until now are still there for me and supporting me. And I'm really glad that a lot of the people who I was playing with really encouraged me to get back into my feed.
Hmm.
And like I said, it was already a step back already in my career. I was like, I was willing to give up already because I thought that there was nothing more for me, and I didn't expect that through perseverance you could actually achieve things and make it happen. And I'm very grateful. So up until now, whenever those awards come, I'm like, oh gosh, I'm so grateful. But I don't know the exact words to say
Mm,
because I think it's just like gratitude.
yeah,
It's just really gratitude to do something that you love and to be recognized for it.
which is awesome, by the way. And the video where you can see when you're collecting your award, the emotions come out straight away, and it's just like it's even though it's something that you enjoy and it's fun, you can see the hard work that goes into it.
Yeah, I was shaking, by the way.
Yeah.
And because I was just shaking. I didn't even think of what I was going to say. I had just because when I saw that they were looking at me prior to like the award being handed out, I had like this feeling like, oh my god, they might say my name, and what am I gonna go up on stage? Because like the people prior to me had like they had like a speech, so I was like, okay, I have to think of something really cool to say, but like on that exact moment, it was just really, I'm so grateful. And I was shaking,
Yeah.
but it
Didn't
was
come
just out of
across.
pure joy.
Didn't come across as shaking. You could see that you're emotional about it, but composed, which was very important. And then, as I mentioned, we were both out in Riyadh, and we're looking at July, August now this year. We were out for the esports
Yeah.
world. Like, how was that experience for you? For me, I was not used to temperatures being. I was not used to the heat. Being from the UK, we don't get that heat, so the heat for me was crazy. But
It
how was
is
the
a different kind
experience?
of heat. It was a different kind of heat because here in the Philippines
Dry.
it's quite hot. Like you can see like the sunlight right now hitting me.
Mm,
That's like natural sunlight hitting me from up above. So it's also hot here, but it's like the humid kind of hot.
yeah, not dry heat like it was in Riyadh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, but I really enjoyed it. I was starstruck for a lot of times while I
Mhm.
was there. I was like, oh my gosh, these are a lot of people that I didn't expect to be good friends with a lot of them
Hmm.
after the esports world cup. So I was very honored to actually be one of the Filipinos to come represent our country in the esports world cup, to watch, support our teams, and at the same time go up on stage for the esports awards
Yeah.
and be a presenter. That is crazy. And I was so grateful because you really took good care of us guests. We're
Hmm.
thankful to you as well, Miles. And it was memorable. It was really memorable because it was an experience, one that I would never forget. It
I
was great.
the people that you meet there, and I say this every year because I've had the past few years of assisting in it, and last year was my first time I was sort of directly involved in like helping yourself and getting people ready for being on stage. But like the people that you meet there, the relationships that you build because you realize that you're all there for the same reason. You're all there for a love of gaming or a love of like the entertainment side that you're in, and the people are just. You always and I get starstruck listen, every time I go there I'm full of starstruck because these are names of people who I've watched my whole life or names that you hear and go, oh, I'd never like. There was moments where like you're getting chess champions, you're getting ex-footballers, you're getting all these different people coming, let alone the head of Sega. Just sort of what. So I'm there going, here's a list of the people that I need to make sure have arrived safely and they're happy and stuff. And as they walk in, I go, that's the head of Sega. Like that guy is massive in gaming. Or that is Magnus. He is the number one chess player in the world, and I just have to casually go up to him and go, "Hi, Magnus. Obviously, I know you're presenting an award today. How is everything?" And you're just like, "Yeah." You exchange emails. Like we exchange emails at the start, but then actually meeting people, it's such a fun experience. Like, was there anything that particularly like stood out for you? And also, were you nervous on stage? Because it doesn't come across at all.
Like when I went up on stage, I was nervous prior to going up on stage, but when I was on stage, like a lot of people were just smiling, so I basically just like forgot all the
Yeah.
nervousness and it just became like pure happiness and enjoyment. So that was really fun for me. The person that really that I had like memorable experiences with was um Panda M4,
Yeah.
the content creator of PUBG, and Payal Gaming. as well.
Those guys are
But
great.
yeah, I had like, oh my gosh. So Panda, I met at the esports awards. And then we were like, okay, let's all like, so all of us content creators, let's try to see each other at the last day of the esports World Cup. Something happened. I wasn't able to enter the esports World Cup. I stayed outside. I was like, okay, so we're gonna go back. I already made plans at like 3 a.m. So when the esports World Cup ended at around like 11, I already had plans for 3 a.m. to go to the Red Sands
Hmm.
area. So it was gonna be like a 2 hour drive or something, or 3 hour drive. And then I was like, come on, Panda, join us. I'm gonna be joined by Trike of Blacklist and a few other Filipinos who had like a tour company. And then Panda was like, oh, I'm too tired. I was like, but it's once in a lifetime. I don't
Hmm.
think we'll be back in Riyadh in years. And then he was like, for a moment, he was just gonna say goodbye to me, Trike, and all the Filipinos as he was gonna bid goodnight. But
Hmm.
when he saw us, we were like, come on, let's go, let's do this. And then he's like, oh gosh. And then we took that 2 to 3 hour drive going to the Red Sands. And then we rode camels.
Oh,
We
amazing.
we we just like drove some ATVs, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he was so happy, by the way, and I'm so happy that I convinced him to join. And ever since then, we became friends. So sometimes I would like post my content. He'd like, you are crazy. He's like, how in the world do you do this much cosplays?
Yeah.
I was like, and then I was telling him, please cosplay as well. I do hope that one day we could cosplay together, because I can't believe that I would find like new friends from esports awards.
No, I now need to reach out to him, get him on the podcast, and he will hopefully say the exact same his side of the story, and then we can combine and get the cosplay going. So,
Yeah.
you,
I did also meet like the people behind Pokemon Go.
yeah,
Oh, that was crazy. And the vice president of Riot. I keep meeting amazing people in the elevators of,
it's
was it
it's
what was the hotel again? Was it Four Seasons? I
Four
forgot
Seasons.
the
We're at the Four
yeah.
Seasons for the event.
Yeah.
Elevators is the best place to meet people.
Yeah.
You'll
It
just
was
bump,
amazing.
and I have it where like I'm aware of all these people because they don't know who I am, so I'm just stood there going, like you said, I'm like I'm stood next to Soul Gaming. This is Soul Gaming. Like the guys are just here next to me. I know who they are. They don't have a clue that I know who they are, and then they come down and I go, I have to introduce myself and say hi. Like I said, like I got to so many people going, I'm such a huge fan. I'm trying not to fanboy here. I'm trying to be as composed as I can, but I need you to know that I love your content. I love what you do. And everyone is so humble and so nice.
Wow. That's so
I know.
nice.
I absolutely love it. And away, and listen, moving slightly away from and Riyadh and gaming, but so you've mentioned your TV work. And
Yes, yes.
I start off by saying like how unbelievable like the views
Mm.
were on this last one. Like, how do you find when you're preparing for a role? Do you have to get into the role of an antagonist? You obviously you're such this bubbly, great personality, and then suddenly you have to become an antagonist that people don't like. How do you prepare yourself to like change your basically how you are as a person?
It so I have been in TV almost, because my life started with like me cosplaying at like 14 years old officially, because I started like dressing up like anime characters when I was 13, but I attended my first convention when I was 14.
Hmm.
And when I was 17, I did a TV show called Big Brother,
Yeah.
where I won. And then eventually it really opened up my doors into acting. And from there, it took me a lot of lessons as well, education, and at the same time really learning how to be a great actor, and like tapping into your own emotions to put it into a character. Preparations for like antagonist roles a lot of takes a lot of preparation as well, and at the same time takes a lot of really understanding the character. So um I am a huge fan of the author Ivana Chabak, who is also an acting coach. So I took a lot of her acting classes. here in the Philippines under Coach Ryan Carlos. And they really taught us about the importance of the power of an actor is to having objectives. It's
Mm-hmm.
really understanding why your character has that objective, that it comes to a point that they would do this for that goal.
Mm-hmm.
Because whenever I play the antagonist, I don't think of myself as a bad guy. I would never ever, I do bad things, but it's not because I want to do bad deeds, or maybe sometimes you want to do bad
Yeah.
deeds. Maybe that's their character. But I do it because of a reasonable place. So my recent character as Venice came to me unexpectedly. Like they gave me when I didn't even really audition for the role or anything. It was already airing when they messaged me that, hey Myrtle, there's this role we really want you in. And I said no to the role like 3 times. Because this year I already had the plans to focus on gaming
Mm-hmm.
and to focus basically on on my cosplay. So when they gave me the role, I said no 3 times. I was like telling them I'm in Japan. I have pink hair. I yeah, like I was like I don't think I could do the role. Like I don't think there's any antagonist who has like pink hair on TV. And at first they were like, okay, we understand your decision. And then they came back to me with another call like, oh, we really think you'd be perfect for this role. Can you not? Can you like change your hair and stuff? And I'm like, I really can't. And they were like, um, if you can't change the color of your hair, I guess we'll just write it into the script. Into the script. So at first I was like wearing a wig, and then they wrote it into that I get red hair in the story,
Mm-hmm.
and I started playing the character. And recently it has become iconic that they were calling my character like that red hair
Yeah.
chicken looking girl, and I love it. But it really also takes a lot of like hardening your heart from all the criticism, because a lot of hate you have to really think it, Miles. Like it's I would say it is 10 times more of what normal hate you would get from like the internet.
Mm-hmm.
This time you get even more, especially
Okay.
if you're playing such an intense character. So it's really preparation for the character, but preparation for yourself as a human being to take a lot of criticism from people who don't know you.
No, and I'm assuming experience of being around TV shows and stuff has managed to thicken your skin a little bit around it, but does it still have that effect of like the love outweighs the hate still? Are you because you seem to find fun in everything that you do? Are you still able to like yes, you're saying your stuff, it's just gonna bounce off you and you take on the fun and the loving comments instead?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I love reaching a lot of people, and I do love like recently a lot of people on Twitter, they were posting like throwbacks of my previous TV show Big Brother, and they're like, this is how much she inspired us. They were like telling me that back in 2012 she became an icon. Every single week she was nominated, but she would wear a costume and smile. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that what I did inspired a lot of people.
Hmm.
And it really just it came back into a reflection that made me realize that if you do good things, people will see it, and the hard work that you put into your life would also inspire other people to do great in their lives. Because at the end of the day, I always think that the things that we do should always stem from goodness, because it would inspire those around us as well.
I should just have that as a caption. There's just you start right there. That's stunning. Like you, so like 2012, you were saying like you've been doing it since 2012, and along the way, I'm sure you've come across loads of, like you even mentioned, just with the thing out in Riyadh, like you met these people that are amazing people that you never thought you'd get to meet. Are there any sort of certain individuals that are like you'd argue like your biggest influences or like even role models and in any of like like I said, cosplay came into you've got such a variety of entertainment there. Like, is there any sort of role models or influences that you look up to?
There is like what's great like about being on the internet is that you get to see a lot of people who live their day-to-day lives that inspire you. But I think the people who would inspire me the most would honestly be Alodia Gosingfiao
Okay.
and Pokimane.
Oh,
I
yeah.
do love them both. So Alodia here in the Philippines, she is one of the people who I started when I was starting out as a cosplayer. She was one of the people who was already quite big as well in the cosplay community when I started, and she inspired me a lot because of the hard work that she put in into her cosplays as well. And Pokimane was someone who got into gaming and really inspired a lot of people. Like she even put up her own gaming company, right?
Yeah.
And really showcased that women can be anything, especially and can be great in anything, even in gaming. And I love them. I do also really like the content of iFerg. He's also mobile gaming content creator
Yeah.
and Mr. Beast for like content creation. So those people really inspire me a lot for my content creation.
Yeah, I first
Mm,
Call of Duty, right? Well, I know he has played Call of Duty on mobile, but he's ever
yes.
yes, yes.
So I actually met him for like a Call of Duty convention
Mm.
like a few years ago, and I actually had to like ask him like how do you put out so many contents in a day? Because back then, he was like putting out one video every single day. I was like, how? And then he was telling me his entire process of that. He had like this much editors, he would think of this much,
Mm.
and like he just can't sleep to create content that would entertain people. I was like, wow, that's really inspiring. And he was even telling me that he sold chocolates just so that he could buy his first iPad to start gaming. I was like, oh my gosh, that is so inspiring because like behind all the videos, behind all the I use this gun to create this loadout. I got these much content creators to join in a video. I was like, wow, that really took that was like an entire journey for him as well. I was like, wow, that's very inspiring. And through there, I actually like I learned from him from through that short conversation. I learned so much from him that I also tried my best to apply it to the way I work.
Mm.
So that's why I say that he's very inspiring because I think what he said to me at that point in time really resonated with me. That up until now, whenever I think of like gaming videos, gaming content, I would still remember him.
And the grind that every time I have people on, like the different stories and conversations of how people got into what they do, but then they don't realize that you don't just fall into being a successful streamer or a successful anything really. You don't just fall into it, and it's the effort that you have to put in. And I love that people have the backstories of like you said, starting with selling chocolate, and then that is how you develop and build from it is incredible. In terms of I'm interested because you have your cosplay and you have your gaming and you have your TV shows, amongst other things. Like, if you didn't have that, do you have an idea of what you would be doing now? Did you have like I guess, although it sounds like you were very early on set on the cosplay world, but what do you think you'd be doing now if you didn't have that in your life?
Honestly, I can't imagine life without like gaming.
Yeah,
Um, Originally, prior to like my path in like entertainment, I was really set on the path of becoming a accountant slash lawyer. Like I
same.
was already
I
really,
did a year of
you were
accountancy when I
invited.
was younger. I teach maths now. Math numbers are my friend. English not as much, but I was convinced I was going to be an accountant.
It's same. Actually, my mom was like convincing me already to become like a corporate lawyer. So you study accounting and then
Yeah.
go into law. So I studied for that. I got into like the top Philippine university here, already set. Everything was already set as planned. And then I was like, one day I was like, I wanna just, I want to audition for that TV show just in case, maybe. And everything just fell into place for me. And I found the right path. I feel like the universe would sometimes pick you up from where you are to put you into the right place, that where you're supposed to be. And for me, that was really like being an being a actress, being a cosplayer, being a songwriter, being a streamer. I think those were truly where my passions and my skills were at. That's why I think like the universe put me there.
Mm.
But if I wasn't doing this, I think I would be a I've always loved storytelling. So I really enjoy like a lot of storytelling. I think I would be like a game developer working into like designing the lores of games, or maybe a director or a
Oh,
script writer.
yeah.
Because I don't know if I told you this, Miles. I actually wrote like I actually was a creative director for a lot of gaming videos here. I also was like the songwriter for the lobby music of the fourth anniversary of Call of Duty.
No way, really?
So yeah, it's like the oh gosh, I don't want to sing the song right now here on the podcast.
People
Like
can check it out. I will have links to it. I will save you that. But that
yeah,
I love
so
that it's still entertainment though. That you can tell that
yeah.
regardless of what you're doing, you still want to be involved in that form of. And listen, I wouldn't say there's anything stopping you from that. If that's something that you think that you want to do, what's stopping you from even adding that to your resume of stuff? Have you got any sort of projects or anything coming up? Obviously, you mentioned the latest TV series that you've just been doing, and I recommend anyone like watching. I've even been trying to check it out and watching it. I'm trying to remind myself, this is bad on me to remember where you can get it from in the UK, but I was looking at accessing it. And is there anything else that you've got sort of coming up in the year for people to look forward to? I mean, obviously, the cosplays, I love that every single time there's a new post, I'm like, this is something new. I have no idea what's coming, and every single time it's still like, wow, and then you can look into it. Have you got anything coming up sort of in the next year or so for people to look forward to that you
oh,
can say?
oh, so am working on a lot, like consistently. I am putting out a lot of cosplays as usual. So they can actually check it out on my official social media platforms. On Facebook, it's Myrtle Sarrosa. On Instagram and TikTok, it's at Myrtle Gale. And on YouTube, it's Myrtle Sarrosa as well. Um, and then apart from that, they can also check out like my upcoming videos. So it's really mostly social media for me right now. And of course, my events. I do have some events in Costa Rica and around the Philippines in the next coming weeks. So I do hope to see everyone IRL and not just like in front of the screen.
That's part of the thing with all these award shows that I love so much is that I get to communicate with people all the time on video, and especially like you're saying during like the pandemic times where you went off streaming and then you came back to it, and then you're getting all these people back. It's lovely to just actually meet people in real life. Like you can't beat that.
Yeah.
And I love that you've got that coming on. Um, Thank you so much for spending time to talk about that. That's real. It's like for me, it's super insightful to know where the inspiration comes from, and I love that Death Note was one of like the starting points for you because me just like in anime started with Death Note, and then being able to transition that into gaming and transition that into TV shows, and then you got to mention as well like the music. It's super inspiring for people listening, and you mentioned where people can get all your content, and I highly recommend it for everyone. And cosplaying alone, like you'll watch a video and you'll just be like, how? Like, and then people then can then watch it or see where it's come from, and whether it be from anime or from gaming, you can see where the inspiration comes, but you can see the fun involved in it.
Thank you, Miles. It does take a lot of time, but like what we mentioned earlier, when you love something, it doesn't feel like it's work or if it's hard, even if it takes a lot of time and takes a lot of money as well to make
Yeah.
it happen. I think like at the end of the day, as long as you're having fun and you're passionate about it, it's always going to be worth it.
Love that. And for everyone who's been listening and watching, I hope you found it really insightful. As always, we have more episodes and podcasts coming up. We've got a good amount of recording this week. I am setting alarms for 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m. We're getting people all over the globe. So we're going fully global with this, which I love. And I've even got some, even for my own benefit, I've got some people from the UK just to spare me some normal time as well, which is good
Wow.
fun. So, Mel, thank you so much for coming on. I can't wait for
Thank you
everyone to
so
sort of
much,
check
Miles.
everything out. And yeah, for everyone listening, I will see you next time.